Let's roll. This is SportsRage. I am Gabriel Morency. The pimps, the players, the hustlers, the people, the bustlers, but everybody else in between. The Thursday night throwdown has begun. I always say we're stacked, but tonight we're super stacked. We're loaded. All right, we got a full house on the program tonight. I don't even know where to start, but Drew Martin will step up and join us. The Raging Redhead, Cam Stewart, in the house with us this evening. Brent Beard joins us. We talk some college football with Brent Beard. There's a lot of stuff going on in the professional and collegiate football worlds today, including Raheem Morris is the new head coach of the Atlanta Falcons. People did not see this one coming. A lot of people, including myself, thought that Bill Belichick would end up with the Atlanta Falcons, and it looks like Bill Belichick could be on the outside looking in right now as far as coaching in the National Football League the upcoming season. There's 2 jobs left right now. So it's hard to believe there were 8 before, and we're already down to 2 jobs remaining. The Seattle Seahawks, who it should be Dan Quinn, but pretty much everything that everybody says, like, we're always wrong, right? We all just assume, well, this guy there and this and that, and it's never. No one thought it was going to be Raheem Morris, right? No one expected who? Dave Canales, who? Right, Dave Canales, new head coach of the Carolina Panthers, the Tampa Bay Buccaneer offensive coordinator has been hired. So it's one of those crazy days. Patrick Waugh returns to Montreal. The Montreal Canadiens win the hockey game. We cashed the ticket with the Bleu Blanc et Rouge. And this is one of those, that was like, so, people, they're going to win. Patrick Waugh is going back to Montreal. No, they're going to lose, right? They're going to lose. There's certain narratives that people just buy into. And I'm not throwing anyone under the bus, but I saw everybody on Twitter today all day long, like, love the Islanders. So love the Islanders tonight. And I was thinking, yeah, good for you. Keep on betting it so I get better value with the Canadians tonight. Shout out to everybody joining us on Sirius XM Channel 159 on the SportsGrid radio networks. This is SportsRage. I am Gabriel Morency. Electric atmosphere tonight in Baton Rouge for the South Carolina LSU basketball game. Women's basketball, we should note. Like, the arena is lit. Right? The arena is lit. The atmosphere is crazy. And LSU are up, but South Carolina, they're undefeated on the season. They've come back 75-70 late in this game. So it's been a wild night, wild week. We've got a bunch of games coming up still here tonight, so we got to pull the trigger. And we've got a bunch of college basketball. There's 1 million college basketball games tonight. We got the Sacramento Kings and the Golden State Warriors as well. I'm seeing this, the number right now. Sacramento -1.5, total 241.5. And, Golden State got it done the other night in their first game back. An emotional night for them. This sort of has letdown written all over it. It's going to be hard to match the emotion that they played with the other night. But at the same point in time, Sacramento really can't be trusted, right? They can't be trusted. So we got a full house, including, we got so many guests. We're going to get started right now. Drew Martin's going to step up and in, like, right now. I don't know, maybe Drew's got one of these late-night college basketball West Coast games in his back pocket. What's going on, Drew? Always a pleasure, my man.
Absolutely, Gabe. Always good to be on with you, my man. And I'll tell you, I do have one tonight, but I need to preference this, Gabe. I've been kind of cold, my man. I've won like one bet my last 10 the last couple days, so I'm starting to pump the brakes a little bit. But speaking of cold,
I'd rather that than you're saying I'm 9-1, because then you're due for a lose. You know what I mean? So I like this angle. Okay. I like this. So what do you got for us?
Yeah, maybe a little buy low. At least that's what I'm going with. Like the get back special, the degenerate special, whatever we're calling it here. How about let's head to the island, Gabe. We get the Hawaii Rainbow Warriors. They're hosting the Gauchos of Santa Barbara here. And speaking of cold, Gabe, Hawaii, this basketball team can't score. And I know the whole thing is like, Hawaii on the island, bet on them in football. I just don't see it in basketball. You need the talent on the court. They don't have it. They've cashed 2 of their last 13 games. They're 2-11 against the spread their last 13. In Fade City right now. Get back special, midnight Eastern time here, Gabe. Give me the Gauchos plus the 5.
Little Gaucho action in the late night hours. I like where you're going with that. Hawaii were playing some pretty good basketball to start the season with those early tournaments that they're in when they host them. But reality has caught up to them in conference play. I'm fascinated by this game between UC Irvine and Long Beach. Two teams that have been pretty good over the years. You know what I'm saying? Irvine much more so than Long Beach. Long Beach, I was a big fan in the Casper Ware days, right? So, they've had some good runs, Long Beach. They always play a tough non-conference schedule. They're usually better than their record indicates. But to me, Irvine are just better than they are. And I think that the line is telling. They're laying points on the road. We can money line this play, but I'm going to go with the Anteaters here, Drew, to get it done. And they've been dominant in this rivalry as well. 7-2-1 against the spread the last 10 games against Long Beach aren't quite the same team. They're good. I know they're 5-1 at home so far this year, but Irvine have beaten some good teams this year, bro. Irvine can play, and we've seen in the NCAA tournament. I like the Anteaters tonight.
Yeah, they've given some good matchups in March. Been a good team to bet, and they're off of a loss against UC Davis, Gabe. So they've won 6 of their last 7 and off the loss. I kind of like that profile. I will say this: you brought up the Beach, by the way, in their home record. I like watching them. Usually got to kind of stream it. They don't make the big networks, but they got a pretty cool home court there, Gabe. I'm sure you've seen it where it looks like a beach and they call it the Beach. It's kind of cool in that sense. But I like where you're going there. If you need to bet this one, I would go with the Anteaters as well.
And we're already off and running. It just got started. So we're just off and running right now. So as I stated, we got a full house on the program tonight. A lot of stuff to get to. We got NBA basketball as well. I'm going to sort of take a wait and see approach with the NBA from an in-game perspective. Although I will say this, and there's no strong angles or anything like that when it comes, for the Chicago Bulls and the LA Laker game. But I think the Bulls show up tonight, actually. The Lakers can't be trusted laying 5.5 points against somebody unless it's the Blazers or something like that. And the Bulls have dudes from LA as well. That's what I'm getting at here. Where does Zach LaVine play? UCLA. Where's DeMar DeRozan from? Compton. Right? It's a big game for the Bull players tonight. There's certain games that you need to know the inner workings of teams and where they're from and what it means to them. Not to mention, these dudes are trying to get traded on the Bulls as well. What better way to try to get traded than showcase yourself on national television against the Los Angeles Lakers, especially guys that wouldn't mind get traded to the Los Angeles Lakers. So, you know what? I'm just looking at this, Drew, 5.5 tonight with the Bulls. They've been competitive. They've been playing better basketball. They got a bunch of vets. I don't see any reason why the Bulls don't hang around in this game, guys. It's not the lock of the century or anything like that, but it's 5.5. On the other side, we'll get Drew's picks for the National Football League. And I want Drew's take on this Keyshawn Butte story, which is just too good. It's just unbelievable what this kid did, in which he created a female persona, Kayla Fortenberry. I love it.
Games of the year, Warren, on Sunday night, as the Chiefs are now headed back to a 6th championship game. An extremely fun, clean game, and then the hijinks ensue.
And I thought it was just irresponsible for him to take that deep shot into the end zone. I talked a lot about it on X. I thought that they should have hit that underneath route to Diggs. He was wide open. It would have been easily a first down.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
Kyle Shanahan said after the game it was the same shoulder that made Deebo Samuel miss 2 games throughout this regular season in 2023.
Last time it was a scapular fracture. He missed a couple weeks. By video, we don't see that. It was the play that he got hit and had a head check. It's more believed to be a muscle injury. X-rays are proven to be negative. They're saying 50-50 right now.
The Early Line. Only on SportsGrid.
This will not end well in Milwaukee. They will flame out, there will be problems, and we will see what happens of who's the next domino to go. Does Giannis, who just signed an extension, ask out after a year? Do they move on from Dame? Or do they start blowing up some of the other guys, Brook Lopez, Bobby Portis, so on and so forth? It'll be worth watching.
Betting above the rim. Only on SportsGrid. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid. Your 24/7 sports wagering network.
We'll look at the Heisman Trophy
The Early
race
Line.
and what it all means. Individual success.
You should have tried to get something for Anthony Rendon. Not bought at the deadline.
Newswire.
We're getting a lot of news, trades, cuts, and some movement in terms of starting quarterbacks,
Pharrell
backup quarterbacks.
coast to coast.
I want to watch great players make buckets and win games.
Game time decisions.
I have no idea what the heck the Blazers are doing and what they
In-game live. Prime time.
Yard for a grand slam.
The bottom of the 4th inning in a 12-2 baseball game. We got football scores going on at Wrigley right now.
SportsRage
That was good
late
betting.
night.
We waited for 1.5. We got paid.
We did.
Didn't like the 2.5. Jumped on
There's
it.
no taking weeks off in golf betting, ever. These are the best weeks to bet.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
This is SportsRage. I am Morency. We got a full house. It's great. We got Brent Beard coming up tonight, too. I look forward to his take on Keyshawn Butte and this story. Drew Martin with us, the Ranger and Cam Stewart stepping up and in. And Drew, of course, an Auburn Tiger alum. And I don't know if you saw it, Drew, but Auburn, very good recruiting class. 8th in the country, actually. So Hugh Freeze did a good job bringing players in this year. It's been a wild, wild week. Harbaugh's gone to the National Football League. Saban is retired. Both those coaches from the Rose Bowl are gone. Raheem Morris got hired today. And then you've got this. There's all kinds of crazy stories out there today. And then you get this story as far as Keyshawn Butte is concerned. LSU wide receiver. He's in the NFL now. But there's an arrest warrant for him because he placed wagers when he was in Louisiana number one, he was underage and he placed with a fake name. Kayla Fortenberry created a female persona to create an online gaming account. Like that,
what a name.
Kayla Fortenberry.
Kayla
It's a great name.
Fortenberry?
Your real name is Keyshawn Butte, and you come back with Kayla Fortenberry. Like same K too. It's like how is he smoking a fat one? You know what I mean? He's like
the funniest
typing it in, Kayla Fortenberry. Like number one too. Does it not raise flags, Drew, too, in a sports book thinking, what was this girl named Kayla in Louisiana just deposited $132K?
Exactly.
Can't deposit $132,000.
What a
Oh,
name.
he's a gambler. You can't deny him that. He's a gambler. How about how he became like a woman persona? Like if I'm gonna go under the radar, I wouldn't even think to make myself a woman. I don't know.
Come in, Donovan Hopkins. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
My alias was Gary Brown. You like that,
I
Drew?
love Gary Brown.
Yeah,
it's pretty good.
Brown
It's Gary Brown.
Gary
I
Brown.
figure I look like a Gary too.
You do. And honestly, it's funny, Gabe. I watch cop shows, and ever since you've told me about your alias, Gary Brown, I've seen 2 Gary Browns. But like these guys are like homicide cops. Like it's a good name, Gary Brown. Strong, very strong.
Wasn't much of a good
Gary
alias
Brown.
though. It was my grandmother's maiden name, Brown. Right.
That's my mom's maiden name. That's hilarious.
Gary Brown. I was like, yeah, I'll go with Gary Brown. It was just sort of, you don't want to use your real name, and sometimes in certain instances,
yeah,
I went with Gary Brown.
That's awesome.
So Kayshawn goes with Kayla Fortenberry. I love that. So he created an online gaming account, used his mother's credit card to fund the account. So he wants to give it his mother, like the cash type of deal. Where did he get the money? I guess NIL? So he took his NIL money?
Yeah, I guess so.
Well, if I'm the cops, that's the question I'm asking. Because I'd be like, listen, like, is this part of something bigger? Did they fund him?
Mm-hmm.
But you see his bets. They know his bets. And he lost money. So you can't say it was whatever. He lost money. He started with $132K, ended up withdrawing $50K. So he ended up losing. He won $515,000 in bets, but he also lost like over that much in the end. So yeah, guys, he's like betting as much as like I am. Like for real. I'm betting a little bit bigger money actually, but like it's like you and me, Cam. Like I averaged it out. $8,900 bets in 365 days is 24 bets a day.
That's quite significant. Like that's a gambler.
He was firing away on NBA, college. He just has been firing away, man. click. 8,900 bets, man. You know what I mean? Yeah, he was firing away. Love this guy. Everyone's like, no one's criticizing him. Everyone's like, this is the best part, guys. So he bet. Everyone's like, well, he bet on LSU football. That's the question. Yeah, he did. He did. He bet on him to win 6 times. He never bet on him to lose.
I like that.
And one specific game on September the 4th, 2022, he placed one bet that he would personally score a touchdown and have over 82.5 receiving yards. And he ended up with 20 yards. And there's a video of him snapping on the sidelines, yelling at Daniels. Because he wasn't getting the ball.
That's so good.
Daniels is like calming him down. He's like pointing at like the scoreboard. He's like, and in reality, he's like, man, I got 10K on this, bro. You got to throw me the ball.
That's so awesome.
I wonder if he told him that on the sideline.
Well, that's like, that's the thing. Like, I know you got to keep that thing low.
You probably would if he's your boy on the QB. You tell him, listen, I need to get to 83 yards, bro.
Like,
you just sort of tell him, I need this.
I got to talk to you in the locker room here. We need to have a chat. Like, you got to give me the ball.
I'm not asking you to throw the game. I'm telling you to get me the damn ball. And I am the star wide receiver, so get me the ball.
Lots. Yep.
But that's like the Arizona State story. But the Arizona State story, fascinating, where the guy tried to do it alone and he clued in. He was missing shots and he goes, some son of a bitch that never hit shots, like hit like 4 3-pointers in a row like that night. And he clued in. Cam, he wanted to be alone. He realized I can't control the game enough alone. Exactly. I need to bring another guy on the team in on this. And it ended up, he goes, then I realized it's just 5 guys on the court. If I've got 3 versus 2, we can control the game. So then he brought in another guy. He got 3 guys versus the 2 that weren't in on it.
What it is, though, Morency, when you're dealing with that, that's you're right. You have to do that, or else one guy could just go off one game. You're humans, right? So he has a great game.
You can't control it. Yeah.
The thing is, though, then you're thinking about your bankroll, though, like the pie. It's getting sliced up into different parts. You better be betting significant amounts of money when you're dealing with that stuff because everybody's getting a taste.
Well, you better not do it in the first place. Otherwise, you end up with a Netflix special and about 36 months in the state pen.
Don't do it in the first place. But if you're going to do
I'm just going to say. Right. The Keyshawn Boutte, whatever. I don't know. He created his mother credit card. He's not going to get charged with fraud. No, he didn't steal anyone's credit card. He's getting charged with underage gambling and creating a fake persona. Whatever. You know what I mean? Like, legally, it's not the end of the world.
Because you said off air, and you're right. That's a fraud. That's a charge of fraud.
Yeah, you're not allowed like falsifying documents, Cam, for money, as you know. Like you know what I mean? Like, and a sports book, you must declare, is this true? Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? You can't create. It's like going to the dude. It's like the that Vegas Dave guy went to jail for that stuff, right? Creating fake accounts in Vegas casinos because it comes back to tax purposes. They don't want Right. They don't want people just walking in. They want to know what you're betting on. I can't believe time's just flying. We got Brent Beard joining us as well. Drew, what do you like this week, NFL?
I like a bunch. And do want to say, Gabe, about the Boutte thing, he owns the SEC single game receiving record with 308 yards against Ole Miss his freshman year. So in terms of talent, he definitely had it. What I'm betting this weekend, I jumped on the Lions plus 7.5, sprinkle a little bit plus 285 on the money line. I thought that was a lot. I mean, Jared Goff against the spread the last 5 years, who's the most profitable quarterback in the NFL, disrespected Jared Goff. I think the Lions, who, hey, they've been covering point spreads 5 of their last 6 games. They've been money. In the San Francisco 49ers, yes, a talented team, the number 1 seed overall, Gabe. A lot of people liking them. But I'll tell you this, Gabe, they're just 2-4 against the spread their last 6 games, and they've been overpriced by the odds makers by more than 30 ATS points, meaning where the closing line, where it closed and how much they lost against the spread by more than 30 points. So they've been overpriced, and I think Detroit underpriced. We get the better quarterback, which is kind of rare this time in the NFL. The better quarterback plus the points, more than a touchdown right now. Get that hook on the 7. I like the Detroit Lions and sprinkle some on the money line. They might punch their ticket, the underdog, into the Super Bowl.
How do you feel about the Ravens and the Chiefs?
Sidewise, I didn't bet it, but I'll tell you this. I like Lamar Jackson, his rushing prop to the over. We get a little bit of weather there. I think athletic quarterbacks this time of year, where it really comes down to, extending plays, I think we're going to get more rushing attempts and more rushing yards for Lamar Jackson.
I agree with you. Great breakdown, Drew. Great stuff. As always, we're jam-packed tonight. That's why we got Drew on a couple of minutes early. We got more football talk. I look forward to Brent Beard's take on Butte, who joins us next. Good stuff, Drew. Thanks for the time, bro.
Have a good one, Drew.
Games of the year, Warren, on Sunday night, as the Chiefs are now headed back to a 6th championship game, an extremely fun, clean game, and then the hijinks ensue.
And I thought it was just irresponsible for him to take that deep shot into the end zone. I talked a lot about it on X. I thought that they should have hit that underneath route to Diggs. He was wide open. It would have been easily a first down.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
Kyle Shanahan said after the game it was the same shoulder that made Deebo Samuel miss 2 games throughout this regular season in 2023.
Last time it was a scapular fracture. He missed a couple weeks. By video, we don't see that. It was the play that he got hit and had a head check. It's more believed to be a muscle injury. X-rays are proven to be negative. They're saying 50-50 right now.
The early line, only on SportsGrid.
This will not end well in Milwaukee. They will flame out, there will be problems, and we will see what happens of who's the next domino to go. Does Giannis, who just signed an extension, ask out after a year? Do they move on from Dame? Or do they start blowing up some of the other guys, Brook Lopez, Bobby Portis, so on and so forth? It'll be worth watching.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid, your 24/7 sports wagering network.
We'll look at the Heisman Trophy
The early line.
and what it all means. Individual success.
You should have tried to get something for Anthony Rendon. Not bought at the deadline.
Newswire.
We're getting a lot of news, trades, cuts, and some movement in terms of starting quarterbacks,
Pharrell
backup quarterbacks.
coast to coast.
I want to watch great players make buckets and win games.
Game time
I have
decisions.
no idea what the heck the Blazers are doing and what they
In-game live.
Just
Prime
took 'em
time.
yard for a grand slam.
In the bottom of the 4th inning in a 12-2 baseball game. We got football scores going on at Wrigley right now.
SportsRage
That was good
late
betting.
night.
We waited for the 1.5. We got paid
We
for
did.
information. Didn't like the 2.5. Jumped on
There's
it.
no taking weeks off in golf betting, ever. These are the best weeks to bet.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
This is Sports Rage. I am Gabriel Morency, Sirius XM Channel 159, SportsGrid Radio and Television Networks. Shout out to all of our television affiliates, apps, platforms, networks, whatever you're watching us on. We can't mention them because then it upsets the other ones. We're on so many of them. We tweet them out a bit, but then we can't tweet them in the same tweets. So go to sportsgrid.com, where to watch, baby. But yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on. And we were just talking a little, we were talking football with a guy that actually went to Auburn, and Drew Martin, who was a hell of a high school quarterback in the Florida area. Real good. He doesn't talk about it. Remember, Cam, when I asked him, I said, so what happened anyways, Drew? What happened? Where did it go? Where did it go wrong? Because he's like, what do you mean? Because, guy was like playing against Darius Butler and stuff like this. And you're like, oh, yeah.
Said
he was
Jason Campbell beat him out for the job. Remember Jason Campbell? Quarterback?
Yeah.
Wasn't he? Yeah, he's the backup to Jason Campbell. I'm like, what?
Yeah, like
really?
Our boy was, like people don't realize, like Drew Martin was like, big time high school quarterback in Florida. Good athlete, Drew. And now he's on a 1-9 college basketball run. Life comes at you fast. Love you, Drew.
That's amazing.
Love you, Drew. So, but let's bring in Mr. Brent Beard right now, who covers the SEC, Heisman Trophy voter, First Coast News, college football analyst in Jacksonville, Florida. Brent, it's always a pleasure, my man. There's a lot of stuff to get to. There's always a lot of stuff to get to, but this Keyshawn Butte story is fascinating to me because I specifically remember talking to you about this, and I remember Brian Kelly saying, we're in a new era right now. And he goes, I generally don't get involved with players' personal lives and their phones and all this. And he said, but we actually went player by player and said, give me your phone. And we asked and looked to see if anybody had any sports betting apps. He said, that's all we were worried about. He said, we looked, do you have any sports betting apps on your phone? Everyone, no. Well, clearly he knew something that, some of you evidently do, okay? But so this Keyshawn Butte story is just over the top. So just for people joining here right now, former LSU wide receiver, Patriots now, Butte allegedly created the name of a fictitious female, Kayla Fortenberry, to create the online gaming account, used his own mother's credit card to fund the account. 17 wagers were made on NCAA football games, including wagers on LSU football on the dates August 8, 2022 through August 9, 2023, the Warren States. 6 of the wagers were on LSU football. Never for them to lose, including one game where he bet on himself. LSU versus Florida State, September the 4th, 2022. So the opener last year. He allegedly placed one bet that he would personally score a touchdown and another bet that he would have over 82.5 receiving yards. So, Brent, it's eye-opening and like eyebrow-raising because it's like, wow, he placed 8,900 bets in a span of a year. That's a lot of bets. It works out to like 24 bets a day. It's not easy to do. Like that's like me and Cam territory. Really? All right.
Yeah.
So it's not easy to do. Like you have to be committed, Brent, to bet 24 games a day. You know what I'm saying? Like it takes time and commitment. Like, okay. And he wasn't bad at it. He won, he lost, he was all over the place. Yet the real crime is here. He was underage at the time at some of the bets, and he created a fake persona online, which you're not allowed to do for business practices with banking, etc., monetary things. He won't be going to jail or anything, but what's your take on the story?
Well, there are two things here. Number one, the difference between he and Cam making bets. Cam knows what he's doing. I'm not.
No, you don't. I don't.
Well, let me say this.
We're gonna have to find out. Actually, we'll go head to head. Butte versus Stewart.
Yeah.
Sorry, Brett.
And number two, if I had used my mother or father's credit card, they would have killed me before anybody did at the NCAA. Okay, so
yeah, especially if you put $132,000. But
that's a
you know what? No, but you know what? He didn't like. He gave his mother the 100. He gave the mother the money. Like, you see what I'm saying? So he didn't like rip. So That's the first thing I thought of. I was like, so where'd you get $130,000 from? But evidently he invested his NIL monies.
Yeah, probably. Well, it also makes you wonder how much more of this is going on that we will never know about. But look, my concern for LSU would be, guys, the reality is, LSU has still got some Title IX issues that happened way back with not only the NCAA getting involved, but some of these other agencies. Listen, you don't want to get involved with that. And I think Kelly probably is smart enough where he's trying to figure out what's going on here. And I can understand. And look, I've heard more than one media person tell me that coaches will look at players' phones if they suspect something like this is going on. I hope it's just limited to Butte, but I'm not saying it's widespread at LSU, but this will be investigated further, I can assure you.
Guys, LSU's basketball program, Gabe, remember Coach Wade? Their basketball program had a real problem, like a big problem. It cost him his job. So basketball and football, kind of interesting.
Yeah, I'm almost at the point where just like let them do what they want. Stay away from them.
Yeah, well, it's hard to police.
And so are the schools, actually, as far as the NCAA is concerned. But that's another story. But as you were saying, Brent, and it's true, Cam, like the thing is, anytime like the state police and there's warrants and stuff, like it's not good. Right?
No.
Like, it's not, this isn't good for LSU football now that they're going to have, there's going to be questions asked. But in the big picture, same thing. Remember like the Iowa State kids before the season started? None of them are going to jail, right?
No.
They play, and you know what's fascinating to me? It was the same thing. It was their parents that placed the bets for them.
Right. Yeah,
like you said, Brent, this isn't Leave It to Beaver anymore. Modern parents are all on the hustle too. They're like, okay, son, how can we make money off of this together? Yeah. Remember the Alabama baseball coach?
Yeah.
He was calling bets in camp to his cousin and stuff at Riverfront Stadium.
Yes.
Remember, like at Riverfront, he told him, the guy walks in, bets like $200,000 on an NCAA baseball game and doesn't expect to get red flagged.
Well, there is I tell you guys, and there's a real emphasis right now on gambling. These coaches would tell you that they've got multiple people that come in and look, I think this is where it's changed. I think it's going from don't gamble to, okay, we know you probably are, but don't be stupid about it. Yes.
I don't think it's asking too much. And I'm a gambling man. I don't think it's asking too much if you tell a player, listen, we don't care, bro, if you sit at home with your boys and want to bet on a LeBron game and watch the NBA and bet on it. None of our business. None of our business. Right?
Yeah.
You want to bet on the NFL? None of our business. But you don't bet on college football because it'll be bad for you and us. Yeah. And I would explain to them, too, instead of trying to sort of parent them, I would explain to them, listen, it's not worth it. You're not going to win money betting anyways, and you're just going to tarnish. You're going to cost yourself. Like, look at Ridley. What happened to Ridley in the big picture? He ended up screwing himself and missing half a season. That's all that happened. Like, in the big picture, and the other thing is, too, if you're this good at it and you like it so much, I've always said this, guys, store the information, sort of, practice it. You know what I mean? And then boom, when your career's over, you can say, you know what? I'm going to have a service. I'm going to sell picks. You can do it. Dan Pastriani did it. He was the first one, a former Houston Oilers quarterback, right? There's ways to do it. You become an expert after whatnot, but it's just dumb, man. Like Calvin Ridley's in the NFL and he's betting $50 parlays on NFL games. Like, why? Crazy. It's the one thing they asked you not to do. Like, why?
Absolutely. Oh, yeah.
And the worst is they have $50 parlays and he's raking it in, too. It's like, what's the point? It's like, it's really stupid. Like, if you're going to go for it, like, what'd you say? Like, rob a bank, not a convenience store? Like, a $50 parlay in his life is like a penny. It's a nothing. It's absolutely nothing.
Yeah, and it cost him millions of dollars in salary, and he missed half a full season, and a bunch of games because of it. Or Jameson Williams missed it. Jameson Williams, another kid, Alabama. He just missed half the season.
Because of that. Guys, here's another thing to keep in mind, too. look, obviously Jane Daniels won the Heisman Trophy last year. They were tremendous offensively, and I give Brian Kelly a lot of credit for this. What they've done, I know you guys have noticed this, they brought in a different defensive staff. They get the Missouri defensive coordinator. They're going to get Bo Davis from Texas, who is probably the best defensive line coach anywhere. They get Corey Raymond from Florida and bring him over. What they're doing is they're beefing up this defensive staff. They know they can make a run at a national championship at some point. So, but if you're going to do this, we don't need players giving us publicity and bad looks in the media when we're trying to come back and reestablish ourselves as national champion contenders.
But they're almost too big to fail. This is just another story in the modern world of college football as the page turns. So Harbaugh's gone. There's pretty much like everybody kind of believes that Jesse Minter is going to go with them. That's almost just sort of like that's done. The real interesting one, and it's a behind the scenes name, Brett, is Ben Herbert, the strength and conditioning coach, who gets a lot of credit behind the scenes for building the culture of that team. More on the other side.
Games of the year, Warren, on Sunday night, as the Chiefs are now headed back to a 6th championship game, an extremely fun, clean game, and then the hijinks ensue.
And I thought it was just irresponsible for him to take that deep shot into the end zone. I talked a lot about it on X. I thought that they should have hit that underneath route to Diggs. He was wide open. It would have been easily a first down.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
Kyle Shanahan said after the game it was the same shoulder that made Deebo Samuel miss 2 games throughout this regular season in 2023.
Last time it was a scapular fracture. He missed a couple weeks. By video, we don't see that. It was the play that he got hit and had a head check. It's more believed to be a muscle injury. X-rays are proven to be negative. They're saying 50-50 right now.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
This will not end well in Milwaukee. They will flame out, there will be problems, and we will see what happens of who's the next domino to go. Does Giannis, who just signed an extension, ask out after a year? Do they move on from Dame? Or do they start blowing up some of the other guys, Brook Lopez, Bobby Portis, so on and so forth? It'll be worth watching.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid, your 24/7 sports wagering network.
We'll look at the Heisman Trophy.
The Early Line.
And what it all means. Individual success.
You should have tried to get something for Anthony Rendon, not bought at the deadline.
Newswire.
We're getting a lot of news, trades, cuts, and some movement in terms of starting quarterback,
Pharrell,
backup quarterback.
Coast
to coast.
I want to watch great players make buckets and win games.
Game time decisions.
I have no idea what the heck the Blazers are doing and what they
in-game live,
Just
prime time.
Yard for a grand slam.
The bottom of the 4th inning in a 12-2 baseball game. We got football scores going on at Wrigley right now.
SportsRage
That was
late
good betting.
night.
We waited for 1.5. We got paid.
We did.
Didn't like the 2.5. Jumped on
There's
it.
no taking weeks off in golf betting, ever. These are the best weeks to bet.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
This is Sports Rage. I am Morency. Ton of stuff going on, including tonight, in which the biggest point spreads, like odds I remember for a hockey game, like ever. Like the Edmonton Oilers ended up closing as minus 650 favorites tonight against the Edmonton Oilers and Chicago Blackhawks. And as always, anytime you lay this massive number, there's, people think it's going to be a blowout. It isn't. The Oilers have finally scored. It is 1-0 for the Edmonton Oilers right now after 40 minutes of play. And they're currently minus 1,200. They're only up by one goal, but they're minus 1,200 right now because they were minus 650 favorites before the game started. We'll get back to the NBA. Detroit Lenny's going to step up and join us. We'll talk about the Lions and the Niners game. We're going to get all the NFL. Rick Saratella, All Access Football, founder of the NFL Draft Bible, with us in Level 3 tonight. So, Brent, what's your take on the Harbaugh situation? And as I stated as we were going into the break, Herbert's a big part of this. Their strength and conditioning coach gets a lot of credit behind the scenes for developing these players. And not just physically, but mentally as well. And Harbaugh can't take everybody with him. Like, otherwise he will turn into the bad guy, right? It's one thing to leave. And Jesse Minter came from the Ravens. And, like, the Michigan coaching staff guys over the last couple of years has almost been interchangeable with the Baltimore Ravens. It's been an advantage for them. Like Harbaugh, Jim Harbaugh, we'll speak to John, and John will be like, listen, this guy's a great coach. Our DB coach here is really good. He should be your coordinator. And so Minter wasn't going to be there forever. Either Sharon Moore will be the coach of this, but it'll be interesting to see the future, how it plays out. Like, Moore is under a ton of pressure. I know you saw me. We were tweeting about it, Brett. Half the team is gone. You have an NCAA investigation that they'll probably slow down and soften a little bit that Harbaugh's gone, but it's still there. You've got a brutal schedule coming up, and you're the defending champions with a target on your back. I mean, look at the schedule, guys. Fresno are a good team. Texas, obviously, are like the Longhorns. I mean, you're getting USC, Washington, Oregon, Ohio State. It's a brutal schedule. But there's 12 teams in the playoffs now. What do you think? How does this play out for the Michigan Wolverines?
Well, I still think they've got enough coming back as far as a core that they can make a playoff run. Number one, I may be one of the few people that I was hoping Harbaugh would come back. I really thought Gabe and Cam, the longer he did not make a decision, maybe the more he would come back. Gabe and I talked about this last week. We both thought that might happen. I mean, I get the fact that he's going. Now, here's the thing with the strength and conditioning coach. What's important about this is it's not so much of how much you can lift. It's not so much of how fast you can run. I know all those things are important. Cam and I got to talk about this. You may or may not remember this several months ago. What certain coaches on your staff do is they create a mindset. And my thing was with Michigan, when they stepped on the field, there were a lot of teams doubting themselves. Can we beat them? Because we don't know if we can block them. And this happened throughout the whole year. And look, Harbaugh did this too. But I think your strength and conditioning coach is extremely important because, guys, if I'm wrong, tell me. He sets the tone for the attitude of this team. And if this attitude is we're tougher and more physical than everybody we play, and they were this year, and they need him to remain in that position.
And how much do you work, Brent and Gabe? The question is, you can have a guy that'll work you too hard. Like, we've watched teams that have major injuries. Some of them are freak accidents. But, Gabe, wouldn't you say a lot of it has to do with the strength and conditioning coach? Even when I played hockey, like, the guy needs to know what he's doing, how hard he can work you. You want to be physical, but you also need to be healthy when you go out there. So there's a fine line with these guys. And Michigan had one of the best, right?
Well, it's not the like you said, Brent and Cam, it's not like the old days. Like, people think strength and conditioning coach, and you think of some big rip guy that's yelling at the players in the gym, lift more weights. We're in such a scientific world right now. Mm-hmm. Strength and conditioning coach also sort of means diet, right?
Yes,
And,
good call.
And
Right,
how
good call.
many hours should we sleep? And then not to mention knowing, it's sort of like the fight game, knowing, listen, just because everybody's been doing this stupid drill for the last 100 years, it's a waste of time. We're not doing it. This is what we need to be doing, right? It's sort of like, you know what I mean? We're not running 100 yards. People, it's a good point. A good example, guys, is the 40. They always talk about the 40 in the at the combine and stuff like that. Your speed within 5 yards, your explosive burst is more important than your 40 time. Like, very few plays are bombs and all this, and everyone's fast. Everyone's fast. Doesn't mean you're going to be a good football player. And you know this, Brent. Like, the biggest, like, it used to be that. You know what I mean? How much did he bench press? How fast was his 40? Now, when you talk to real football people, what was his cone? What was his cone drill? Right? Like, seriously, what's his lateral movement? What's his explosive burst within 3 yards? What's his quick twitch? Right? I don't care if the guy can, good for him. Go be in the Olympics if you want to be a track star.
Yeah.
Can you play football and burst off the line in the first? Think about it, Cam. You can be a track star. The first 5 yards, can you get open? Do you have the moves? Like, can you handle someone jamming you? Can you run a route? Right? There's a lot of stuff that all that, just the physical stuff. Otherwise, you know what I mean? Tony Mandarich wouldn't have been the bust, and he would have been the big star that he was supposed to be because he looked the way that he did. But, Brent, you know what's amazing? So all this Michigan stuff, and we were talking about Sherrod Moore and his problems, at least what he's inheriting. There's some positives to it, too, but Ohio State could not have loaded up any more than they can. And you know that they're upsetting people when Lane Kiffin and the SEC is calling out Ohio State saying, good for them. They're already over $13 million spent right now. So Ohio State landed Jeremiah Smith, the number one recruit in the 2024 class at wide receiver. Julian Sain comes over, number one quarterback in the 2024 class who was at Alabama. He transfers. Also the number one transfer ranked player in the transfer portal. Caleb Downs, number one overall player in the transfer portal from Alabama. Junkins, number one running back in the transfer portal. Like, dude, like this, they're a Pro Bowl All-Star team, Brent.
They are. And look, Caleb Downs may be the best player of them all. And he's just going to be a sophomore. He was an unbelievable player at Alabama. Well, one of the best.
I'm going to throw up as a Michigan fan here, but go on.
Yeah, you got your national championship, Morency. Relax.
Screw Ohio State. Screw these guys. But see what money can buy. All right, go on.
You're a champion.
Yeah. Thank you, Cam. As I'm getting back to this here, look, here's where their strength's going to be to me is in these running backs. In Henderson and Junkins coming from Ole Miss. Look, Junkins is one of the best running backs in the SEC. There's no question about that. Now, here's what I'm wondering about: is there they need something to take the pressure off that passing attack. So defensively and being able to run the ball is something they can do until they get on into the season. I'm not convinced yet how great this passing attack is going to be, frankly. And I don't know about the 13 million either. I know we throw numbers around a lot in the media, but that's the thing to me, Gabe and Cam, is they'll be able to throw to them.
And don't forget, they have Trevion Henderson coming back in the backfield as well.
That's what I mean. Right. Absolutely.
Listen, Ryan Day's going to have to get it done, but it's funny, the $13 million, because Ryan Day said last year to the boosters at one of the, it was publicly recorded, he said, I'm going to need about $13-15 million to be competitive.
Yeah.
Point blank. We heard the numbers, like you said, you never know these exact numbers. We heard the Texas A&M 2 years ago was around 17-18 million. They got excessive and crazy about it. But if you do the math, this isn't cheap. Like, these players nowadays, I mean, you look at these guys, they're all like, 2 million, 3 million, 1 million. Just these transfers alone. I mean, why did Caleb Downs choose Ohio State over Georgia, Brent?
Right. Yeah. Well, look, and people thought he was going to Georgia. I mean, they thought it was a slam dunk. And one of his position coaches, Travarius Robinson, went to Georgia too. So, I mean, some of the Georgia beat writers were aghast at this decision. but
Big Ten's coming on, Brent.
Yeah, absolutely. But look, he's going to make, and let me say this. You mentioned Julian Sain. Julian Sain is a tremendous 5-star quarterback from California. I know he wanted to go to Alabama because of Nick Saban. And it may not be this year, probably won't be. But, man, watch him in the next 2 or 3 years, how valuable he could be for them.
What a crazy world we're in right now in the college football world. We've got the Senior Bowl coming up. Not this weekend, but next week. And you want to talk about quarterbacks. These are the quarterbacks that have accepted the invitations to the Senior Bowl. Bo Nix, Carter Bradley, Joe Milton, Michael Penix Jr., Michael Pratt, Sam Hartman, Spencer Rattler. Very impressive quarterbacks that are going to be participating and battling for draft stock. And it's really cool, too. They put Penix and Nix on the same team. Instead of having to play against each other all the time. But, Brent, what do you think about the NFL? You're a college guy, but you're a football fan. Who do you think is going to be playing in the Super Bowl? We got KC, Baltimore, Detroit, San Francisco. Who you got?
Yeah, I think KC and San Francisco are going to be playing, and I think San Francisco is going to win. One thing I've learned from you and Cam over the last few months, if Deebo Samuels can play, I'm just telling you, that's going to make a huge difference in these games.
Looks like he's good to go. I don't think he's going to be 100%, but he's been practicing. Right. They said limited in practice, but limited in, put it this way, he doesn't need to practice at this time of the year, but I think he's going to play and he'll be good to go.
Oh, yeah.
So you say KC, huh? You think Mahomes gets it done again?
You're the only guy who's taking KC, Brent. It's Raven Nation around here. Like everybody we've had on loves Baltimore, including me and Gabe.
Yeah.
Just because we don't like the Chiefs personally.
You're right. It's a spite bet.
Look, I love Lamar Jackson. But by the way, KC has a pretty good quarterback themselves who can play well. So that's going to be a lot of fun to watch this weekend. Guys, I do want to leave a parting shot here. I know we're running out of time. This is something you need to watch. Number one is the commissioners of the Power 5 conferences are meeting this weekend in Washington with the NCAA and Congress. I'm not sure if anything will come out of that. I'm not real confident that Congress can and or should be doing this and what the NCAA ought to be able to do themselves. But one thing I want you to watch is this is something we're hearing a lot is the SEC and the Big Ten have really morphed into the two big conferences. And there's actually some talk that they actually may break off and do their own thing in a few years. We've got to watch that show.
Thank you, Brent.
Thanks, Brent.
Yep.
Games of the year, Warren, on Sunday night as the Chiefs are now headed back to a 6th championship game, an extremely fun, clean game, and then the hijinks ensue.
And I thought it was just irresponsible for him to take that deep shot into the end zone. I talked a lot about it on X. I thought that they should have hit that underneath route to Diggs. He was wide open. It would have been easily a first down.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
Kyle Shanahan said after the game it was the same shoulder that made Deebo Samuel miss 2 games throughout this regular season in 2023.
Last time it was a scapular fracture. He missed a couple weeks. By video, we don't see that. It was the play that he got hit and had a head check. It's more believed to be a muscle injury. X-rays are proven to be negative. They're saying 50-50 right now.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
This will not end well in Milwaukee. They will flame out, there will be problems, and we will see what happens of who's the next domino to go. Does Giannis, who just signed an extension, ask out after a year? Do they move on from Dame? Or do they start blowing up some of the other guys, Brook Lopez, Bobby Portis, so on and so forth? It'll be worth watching.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid, your 24/7 sports wagering network.
We'll look at the Heisman Trophy
The Early
race
Line.
and what it all means. Individual success.
You should have tried to get something for Anthony Rendon. Not bought at the deadline.
Newswire.
We're getting a lot of news, trades, cuts, and some movement in terms of starting quarterbacks,
Pharrell,
backup quarterbacks.
coast to coast.
I want to watch great players make buckets and win games.
Game time
You have
decisions.
no idea what the heck the Blazers are doing and what they
In-game live.
Just
Prime
took 'em
time.
yard for a grand slam.
The bottom of the fourth inning in a 12-2 baseball game. We got football scores going on at Wrigley right now.
Sports
That
Rage
was good
late
betting.
night.
We waited for 1.5. We got paid
We did.
information. Didn't like the 2.5. Jumped on
There's
it.
no taking weeks off in golf betting, ever. These are the best weeks to bet.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
This is SportsRage. I am Morency. The pitch, the players, also some people to bust them, to everybody else in between. If you're with us earlier off the top of the program, I said, there's one game that catches my eye tonight on the West Coast, and that was UC Irvine against Long Beach. UC Irvine rolling right now, up 41-24. So we're on the right side of this game so far. We'll keep our eye on this. Really high-scoring game with Sacramento and Golden State. We've got a fun one going on. It's 50-48 with 7 minutes left in the first half in this game. The new in-game total right now is 254.5. And to be honest, I don't really see a reason why I won't get there. I said earlier off the top of the show as well, this is no angle or this or that. This is just a straight Morency sort of gut hunch pick. And I brought up the reasons too. Like DeRozan, Levine, like it's homecoming for these guys. I don't trust the Lakers at 5.5. The Bulls have been playing better basketball. Give me the 5.5. With the Chicago Bulls. They blew that big lead the other night to Phoenix, but I think they can hang around in this game, Cam, against the Lakers. I just clicked at 5.5 in-game.
I'm on the Bulls as well, Morency. Small play with Golden State, and in tennis, I'm on Sinner every which way. Plus 180, plus 3.5 spread, and he's up 2-0. He just broke Djokovic. It's early, but looking a good start.
And I'm probably the only person in the world here right now sweating out. I didn't even realize this. I've got the Denver Pioneers in a moneyline parlay. Son of a bitch, Cam. They're tied 84-84 with South Dakota right now.
Oh, I thought you were going to say Denver Pioneers hockey game. Oh, you're hitting the Pioneers
College
on the hardwood.
basketball.
Oh, here we go. Usually our Denver,
they're good at home. They're
ice.
usually they have the altitude. It's like everybody else. They have the altitude advantage against teams, right? So they're normally pretty good at home. They were like 9-point favorites tonight, too. It was one of those stupid just threw it together plays. South Dakota right now, they're in overtime, 84-84, and I already lost a bet tonight. I had Cleveland State in overtime, and Wright State came back and beat them tonight.
Teams.
The Vikings were 8-0 on their home court. That was their first home loss of the season. All right, we've got Detroit Lenny ready to step up and in. We got a full house on the program. Big Card Julio in the house. Rick Saratella, level 3. Let's roll.